What's going on, guys? Welcome to Breaking Tackles, the New York Giant podcast, alongside with Manny. I am your host, Antonio, man. Hope everybody has had a good weekend of playoff football. Manny, real quick, man, I just want to touch base, man. How'd you enjoyed playoff weekend, and anything that stayed out in particular for you that weekend?
I mean, as a Giants fan, how do you not sit there and look at that Cowboys 49ers
Yeah,
game?
I knew you was going to bring that up right away.
It was funny because in the fourth quarter, when the Giants, I think the Cowboys were down by like 19 or so, something crazy. And then my wife was like, it's over. I'm like, no, it isn't.
It was scary to the end.
It was, but it was a lot closer. You know,
Yes.
Obviously situations happen. 49ers lost some players. That still was.
I'll be
one of
honest,
the
better team didn't win that game. The better coached team won that game.
Yeah, like the better overall team from coaches to players
Yes.
and front office won that
yes.
game.
But in terms of talent by itself, no.
No.
Cowboys have
the best
way too
quarterback
much
didn't win that
talent.
game.
Best
That's for
quarterback didn't win that game. Exactly.
For sure,
A lot of people
absolutely.
were trying to
Although
compare
Dak Prescott
Dak.
hasn't been playing very well. And Dak Prescott
He
hasn't
hasn't.
been
He could be
playing too
hurt
well
or
lately.
whatever. Yeah, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, just look at his stats for the season. He put up some great stats, and I don't care if he didn't win one team with a winning record or whatever. Dude, you're supposed to beat the teams that are in front of you. And if he beat up on all the bad teams and none of the good teams, I don't care. He still beat up on the bad teams. That's something that we as the Giants didn't even do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's
No,
frustrating.
that's a good point.
Much
That's a good
respect
point.
to
They had a
them,
good
but
season.
thank God they got eliminated. You know what I'm saying? Like I have
Yeah.
too many friends that are Cowboys fans and are Eagles fans, and now they're just like us.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
I live in Texas, so
There you
I
go.
hear you for sure. But no, obviously the Buffalo Bills New England Patriots game, how that turned out was way different than any of us could have expected. Obviously,
Right.
that was just a drumming
Right.
in the ways I didn't think a New England Patriots team would look like in the playoffs, but that was a drumming. So, I mean, shout out to the Buffalo Bills. That was a great win for them and for Bills Mafia. The Bills were out. It was a lot of fun to watch that game for sure.
Yo,
I
listen.
mean, and every other game was good for the most part too. Big Ben's last game.
The QB difference
argued
in most of
possibly.
those games, bro. QB difference. Like the better QBs for the most part won, except for maybe that one game of Dallas and San Francisco. But dude, like Brady destroyed Hurts. Mahomes destroyed a retiring old Roethlisberger, who's gonna be a Hall of Famer, but he's not now.
His last game.
Yeah.
I mean, the Raiders and the Bengals was a close game as well, but then at the end,
How do you feel about Joe Burrow?
I think of all the young quarterbacks right now,
Yeah.
he's the best. Like he's better than Justin Herbert. I would take him over Justin Herbert. I would take him over any quarterback in our division right now.
I think that guy has ice in his veins.
Over him. I think the only guys you don't take over him is like
Proven guys.
Aaron Rodgers,
the elite two, the elite three,
Josh
top three.
But Tom Brady, like I go back and forth, but I would probably put him over Tom Brady.
I would take Tom.
I would take Joe Burrow just because of that age. Like they're both
No,
great quarterbacks.
yeah, you're gonna
but,
have Joe Burrow for the next 10 years. You're right.
Joe Burrow showing this right now. Oh
Yes.
my God.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with the man. Yo, dude, I remember the first time that I saw Joe Burrow, like the first Joe Burrow game that I saw. I'm not gonna lie, it's not like I've been scouting this guy forever. Was in the national championship game, LSU and was it the national championship game or the one before that? I know it was LSU and Bama. I don't know if that was the national championship game.
It was. I think it was probably just a regular season game.
No. It was either the game before. It was a playoff game either before the semifinal or the national championship.
I know that year Alabama was in the playoffs and they lost to LSU earlier in the season.
So then, okay, so it was a game with
It
Bama.
it was either Bama. It was probably LSU and Oklahoma. Excuse me.
No. It was Bama for sure. So it wasn't, but it wasn't.
It was earlier.
It was probably earlier. It was probably the conference championship or something like that.
I remember the first time I saw Joe Burrow was against UT, and this was when UT was supposed to be good, and then LSU came in, Saturday night football. It was a shootout, and Joe Burrow came in there.
I mean, I think he had six touchdown games. Like he had that last year of him. He had like a couple of 6 touchdown games. So I think he even had 1 7 touchdown game. But anyhow,
he came into that NFL. He came into that college season.
He broke the record.
Yeah, and he came in as a 5th round draft prospect, and ended up being the number 1 overall pick.
Here's what I remember from the first time that I saw Joe Burrow. he was making throws and he was getting rid of the ball that I was like, there's NFL quarterbacks not doing this. And I know that people be like, oh, but it's college, stuff like that. I was like, yo, I've never seen college quarterbacks do what he was doing in college. How accurate he was. I was like, holy shit. And like you said, I think he is the next Tom Brady type of guy, to be honest. But back to what I was saying, back to the playoff teams, it was quarterback difference. And for those that don't understand, and I'm gonna say this to all Giants fans, I'm not knocking on Daniel Jones, but what I'm saying is, you want to win in this league, your quarterback better be better than the other guy. Like, unless you have the situation where your team, your coaching staff is both on an elite level and your quarterback is good, but that's a lot of ifs. That's a lot of to depend on. Look at, for example, Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to win the Super Bowl this year, but Aaron Rodgers is the number 1 seed. I don't think that team overall is that good, but the level that Aaron Rodgers is elevating everybody, it's a lot easier to change, to put an elite quarterback than to try to have elite everybody.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that team without Aaron Rodgers isn't the same.
Doesn't even make the playoffs, man. That team doesn't even make the playoffs.
They showed that one game
with
where
he
missed against the Kansas City Chiefs. They were close, but they offensively they weren't the same team.
Exactly, man. Like, it is what it is. It's just and listen, and again, we don't know where the hell you're gonna find a quarterback, or even if Daniel Jones is not the guy, he could. Yo, listen, I'm so confused right now with my evaluation on Jones, because I'm like, poor guy had to deal with Jason Garrett for 2 years. I'm sure he regressed. He had to deal then with Shermer, who wasn't as bad, but then he had a really bad defense, so he had to just kept putting up points, and the offense wasn't even like that innovative. You know what I'm saying?
It got him in as GM that doesn't do you much favors.
With a Gettleman as GM, like, he's just placing their bad coaching left and right. So did this kid ever really has gotten good coaching in his 3 years that he's been already in the Giants? I'm gonna say no. So that's why I'm like, yo, Daniel Jones can at least be our Jimmy Garoppolo next year. I don't see, again, me and you spoke about this through text. I told you the Giants defense was 4 points away from at least points per game. I'm not saying stopping the pass or stopping the run. Points per game, which is, to me, is the most important stat. At the end of the day, you got to score points and you got to stop people from scoring. They were averaging 4 points. I think they were averaging 27, and the top 10 team was averaging 23. So they were 4 points away from being the number 10 ranked top defense in points per game. Yeah. How about if the Giants were to play with 10-point lead, 14-point lead, and they could just think about sacking the quarterback instead of expecting run and pass? What about if you eliminate from any other team the run option, and now the Giants know, you know that you got to pass, and we got to just hit the shit out of your quarterback. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That.
When you read that stat to me, there was so many things that the Giants could do to improve on that stat too. A lot of it has to do with just getting a GM in here that is worth it.
You said it.
So
bring an edge player.
Yeah,
bring
like
a linebacker.
A GM that can evaluate talent,
yes,
and that brings a staff with them that can evaluate talent. That's the most important thing. So,
here's another thing that I really liked about the 49ers, and we're going to talk a little bit about the 49ers, guys, if you don't know, because I fell in love with the 49ers this weekend, me personally. The 49ers had 5 sacks in that game. Bosa had half a sack. He's a first rounder. Their other first rounder from 2015, Armstead, I think it is his name, he had 1 sack. So between the 2 first rounders, they both had 1.5 sacks. Bosa gets hurt. He's done for the day. The other 4 sacks came from a 5th rounder, a 6th rounder, and I think a 4th rounder or a 3rd rounder. I'm not entirely sure. It was coverage sacks, man. Like, these guys were playing. Dak was holding on to the ball way too long. He had nowhere to go with the ball. and he didn't know whether to scramble or maybe he couldn't scramble. Maybe Dak was hurt, but he was holding on to the ball and staying in the pocket, and they were just crushing him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, the Giants could be that team. The Giants could have that defense. We need just to play coverage in the back. We can't allow these little dump-off passes in front of Crowder like we did all season long. We need to play real defense. So that's why another thing, too, I'm like, yo, listen, I'm cool with also Patrick Graham not being here. I'm cool with him being here, and I'm cool with him not being here. Because at the end of the day, there was a lot of times where I felt like the Giants were just like playing this like really scared defense. And I was just like, I don't think that we needed to play scared for XYZ games. But anyhow, here we are, man. We got a lot to cover. What do you want to go through first in this whole entire episode, man? We got a lot of things, man. We're going to talk about GM candidates. We're going to talk about Mara. We're going to talk about a lot of things, man. Where you want to touch base first?
Let's talk about Mara first. That press conference he had, pretty much addressing the team,
right,
and the state of the Giants,
right.
And obviously, the big ones that came off, him going at a few of the reporters because of Chris Mara questions and stuff like that.
Can't stand that,
and then
man.
him also, and then him, pretty much saying this is the most embarrassed he's been to be a part of this team. That he thinks that Joe Judge can still be a good coach, but that he just feels with bringing in a new GM that they just need to start fresh.
Me too.
All over it all and go through it thoroughly. And the one thing, obviously, that they said was that the GM is going to make the decisions, and the GM has always made the decisions, and the head coach has always made the decisions in lockstep with the GM.
They just have veto problem in case if it was a character issue.
And a lot of people
I believe so.
A lot of people had questions about that, but obviously with Dave Gettleman being such a bad GM, it's not under the realm of possibility that
I wish somebody would have asked him, was that the case with Eli Manning? That's my only thing. Because that and nobody would have the balls. Nobody would have had the balls to ask him that because they'll probably get their passes revoked.
There was a lot of good stuff from that press conference that we got. And a lot of people still kind of got off on the whole Chris Mara situation thing, but I don't know.
People need to relax, bro. He is an owner of that. He's not going nowhere. That Chris Mara kid is not going anywhere. He's part of the family, guys. And I said this on Twitter, and I said this on one of the live spaces. He's there because he's family, bro. Like he's yes, he might. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to learn football. If you grew up around football, you're seeing football every day. Me and you could be scouts for this team, bro.
He's been in the organization for 30 years,
bro. We could follow a real scout. Manny, me and you could follow a real scout for a couple of years, and you don't think that we're gonna learn how to scout, bro? It's not that hard. You don't have to have a special eye for that. You don't have to play football. I'm pretty sure that the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers hasn't played a down of football in his life. Just by his physical.
Bill Belichick was a lacrosse player.
There you go, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like I want people to stop making the football like it's this hardest thing in the world, like it's trigonometry, like it's algebra. Like, it's not, bro. Football is not that hard. You just have to, like anything else, work on it, try to learn it, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So this kid Chris Mara gives his input. His input is evaluated just like everybody else's. Will there be maybe sometimes where like the GM will come and suck up and try to ask for his opinion just to suck up? But at the same time, like, I don't care what this kid is telling me. I already got my mind on. I'm just trying to win some brownie points. Yo, I would be doing the same shit too.
Yeah, and obviously with the GM candidates that they're bringing in, and
he's gonna work with them.
We'll go over the two specific ones, but the fact that, the one thing obviously, like you just said, there could be sometimes an influence, like if your boss's brother is saying he likes this.
Yeah.
Maybe it gives you maybe there's some type of influence, and that's not great.
Yeah.
But also too, I'm kind of just over the whole front office talk stuff.
I am over it.
I think if the Giants would have had this full GM search 4 years ago when they hired Dave Gettleman, we
wouldn't have this issue.
They had 4 candidates, 1 guy from TV, 2 retired guys, someone in house. That's not a candidate. That's not a search. You know
who we got to blame for that? We got to blame Ernie Corsi. Ernie Corsi, did us dirty, bro. Like, he did us dirty. He just like, yo, I need to get my boy a favor. I owe my boy a GM job. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's pretty much what it was, yo.
And then the Giants had it on. The Giants had it that he was going to be the GM. Like, they could have. It didn't matter. They could have done whatever. So this is now a full GM search, which gives me a lot more.
This looks like an extensive and educated GM search. Absolutely.
Exactly. And we talked about it last time on the pod. Right. The Giants are going to have 9 candidates.
Right. They're down to finalists.
And now Tuesday it's confirmed. They have 2 guys on the finalist list, Joe Shane and Ryan Poles. And for people that aren't like, that don't know for sure about both of these guys, obviously Shane was from the Bills. He was the first candidate to meet in person. He already had that meeting today. We mentioned already he's a legit NFL front office guy. He started as like a scouting like in a ticket office for the Panthers. Then worked with the Panthers, the Dolphins. Went with Brandon Bean to the Bills when that first started. He's been a guy that a lot of people have said he's gonna have his home team soon. And he's gonna be a guy. I
mean, the video though, I fell in love with that guy from the video that you showed me, bro, about him talking about like how the scouting department works. And if anybody heard the Giants podcast today, Big Blue Kickoff Live, a Buffalo fan called the Giants podcast, and he spoke about how they cleaned the house completely. Like the guy, they came in, they used the scouting department that was there for the draft, and as soon as the draft was over, those guys were gone on June. And there's like, yo, you can't keep these guys because it's been 17 years of losing and not making the playoffs. So it's the same thing over here, yo. There's 10 years of losing, but supposedly too, the thing is that there's a lot of young dudes here that just recently were brought in, so they're like, oh, maybe he could just groom the guys that are here and trying to kind of tell them their philosophy, which makes sense too. You don't gotta fire guys. You can say it's just like a new boss coming into the workplace. Like, guys, I like procedures to be done XYZ, and then you submit XYZ to me. It's supposed to ABC. We're not doing ABC no more, and that's pretty much it.
And it wouldn't have been so smart for whoever the GM is to just fire everybody without at least figuring out.
There's a draft coming up.
The draft is coming up.
Yeah.
Let's at least roll with them. We're going to put our own input, bring in scouts, go from there.
Right. You bring like your closest 3 guys that you're real close with.
And then also, you got to also remember there may be some candidates here that there may be some people in the office that they want to keep. So obviously getting rid of everyone before you get to work with them is important.
Yeah.
So then we go into Poles, Ryan Poles from the Kansas City Chiefs. He's got confirmed. Second interview in person. Obviously, we talked about, he's the definition of a fast riser, a guy who's getting a lot of, heat and a lot of.
He's my number one. I'm gonna be honest. He's my number one.
Right. He was a former offensive lineman for Boston College.
That's
when
why.
Matt Ryan was there. He started there recruiting as a director, and then in 2009 he was hired by the Chiefs as a scout, and then within the next decade he received 4 promotions.
Right.
Both guys, him and Shane, had interest from the Panthers, but then he got on to the second interview with the Panthers last year as well. He also attracted some interest from the Bears and the Vikings. Funny fact about both of these guys who are named candidates for the second interview, both of these guys' teams are playing against each other this AFC divisional round.
You imagine that the winner gets the job? You imagine is that like simple? Like, yo, winner gets the job.
That would be very interesting. That would be really interesting as well.
Here's what I'm gonna give you a little quick hunch that I have. I have a feeling that if Shine, how do you pronounce it? Joe Shane gets a job, he won't have Brian Daboll as his head coach.
Well, that's what a lot of people are saying, that he would be that guy. But on top of the guys we just mentioned, Poles and Shane, they also say that there's a report also by @FilmTalkFB on Twitter, and a lot of people are going to question @FB.
Tell me why you're bringing up that Twitter handle.
Yeah, @FilmTalkFB. A lot of people are going to question him because he's not checkmarked or she's not checkmarked or who knows who this person's stats are. But the Sunday right after that Bears game, late at night, he tweeted or she tweeted, reports are coming out from my sources that if the Giants have another bad game like they did to finish off against Washington, then Joe Judge is out.
Right.
And lo and behold, it happened. So I tend to believe film talk, and they say that the Giants, on top of flying out Bill Schoen and Ryan Poles, but they're also expecting to fly out both Joel Ortiz from the Ravens, Monty Ossenfort from the Titans, and Adam Peters from the 49ers. So it's still
So it's gonna be it's gonna be like a finalist table.
5. It'll be 5.
5 finalists.
Poles, Schoen, Ortiz, Ortiz. A lot of people get that. A lot of people don't. I don't care how you can't pronounce those names, but Ortiz, Olsenfort, and Peters would be the other 3 guys on top of the 2 that are there.
Right.
So
let's see. If they're accurate, if it really does happen, then we gotta give a couple of big shout outs to that Twitter handle. Absolutely.
Oh man, I follow them very religiously.
You gotta give it to them. I'll follow so I can follow them too.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah, no, they're real good, and obviously for you and me, I think our 2 top guys were these dudes. I know you like Poles. I like Schoen.
I like both. I'm cool with. You can't go wrong with any of these guys.
Yeah, honestly, those, with the exception of Monty Ossenfort, those other 5 candidates I mentioned, with the exception of him, I would love any of those other 4. But the one thing we liked about, you just mentioned Schoen. He came in with Dayball, completely new staff, had to pretty much build it from the ground up of what they want their franchise to look like in the front office.
Right.
And then we already talked about
not Dayball. Kim McDermott. Because McDermott's the head coach over there.
Yeah, Sean McDermott, exactly. Right. And then you already mentioned, with Poles from Kansas City, how you like him. You mentioned this. He's offensive lineman. We know that what the Chiefs did in this offseason, getting that offensive line changed. And I think with Poles indirectly, the Chiefs have been very good at drafting, have been really good at player development, and have been really good at getting coaches here to help, the players on this team become what they are now.
Who's the GM a lot of these guys, for the Chiefs? Is it Andy Reid too? Is Andy Reid both?
Brian, it's a Veach.
Okay.
Veach is his name. Brandon, I think Brian or Brandon. Yeah, Veach is his last name.
Okay.
And I know when a lot of these players like Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Cheetah.
Come on, dude. Yeah.
Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I know a lot of those guys were drafted by Ken Dorsey. But those guys were all in the building with him. So there's influences of Ken Dorsey with Poles as well, too.
Right.
And then you get Brandon Veach as well. The influence is there as well. I'm very interested and very excited for both of those prospects. Either one, whoever you want to draft. If the Giants say, hey, whoever wins, you're coming this week, it's probably not going to happen like that. Obviously, that
would be funny as hell.
It's just again, man, it's just really, really super excited to see these Giants candidates and stuff like that, especially considering the fact that we saw the Chiefs and the Bills blow the doors off of their opponents leading into their matchup this week. But obviously, that was another thing I wanted to talk about too.
I was gonna bring that up too.
Is there anything with GM wise that you wanted to, hit on?
Yeah, no. So one thing for sure that we had this talk because of the playoff games this weekend, and obviously the GMs are coming from the teams that we're looking at, successful teams. A lot of the people were like, "Oh, imagine what Brian Daboll would do with Daniel Jones." And a lot of people were talking about that. And my thing is, listen, just from what I saw from the Bills game, what I got away from that more is Josh Allen is elevating that team to another level. And we unfortunately don't have a Josh Allen in our system, in our team. Josh Allen was dropping back extra steps. Josh Allen was holding on to the ball a ridiculous amount of time because Josh Allen's arm talent is out of this world. And he threw a touchdown almost 10 seconds holding on to the ball. That was the longest time holding on to a ball before a touchdown in playoff history, I think it was. And I was just like, yeah, nothing that Josh Allen is doing, Brian Daboll could produce in the Giants. As opposed to Mike McDaniel, which...
From the 49ers.
From the 49ers, a.k.a. Harry Potter, a.k.a. Yale. Here's the thing. I think that Daniel Jones has more tools than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that somebody as clever that's coming from. First of all, that is the system. That is my number one choice of the system that I want the Giants to bring in here, which is a zone scheme. It's you're doing an outside zone run, and the exact same formation, the exact same thing you're doing, you're play actioning, and the teams think it's the exact same thing as opening. If a lot of people saw, there were times where San Francisco would throw sweeps, and obviously, as we all know, sweeps, you go to the outside with the ball, running back does. They would also throw sweeps and do inside runs with the sweeps, and you would see the Dallas Cowboys linebackers scrape to the wrong side of the field because they were following the guards, and the guards were just taking them out of the play. I was like, yo, this is genius stuff. That it's not about, in my opinion, scheme is 60 to 70% more or less of how do you win a football game. Talent is another 30%, or I would say talent is 20%, and then 10% is the quarterback. How good your quarterback is. If you have a big quarterback difference, that's a big advantage. But look at the 49ers. They beat the team with the better quarterback, the better and the better talent because they had the better coaches in the 49ers. And I would really want to see what Mike McDaniel, and yes, I know there's a lot of people saying, well, he's not the one calling the plays. Guys, listen. These people do call plays. Are they calling the most important plays? Probably not. Are they the ones that are coming up with the first drive series? No, that's probably the head coach because those guys are the offensive coordinators and those their playbooks. But these guys are calling plays. These guys are involved in the play calling the whole time. No head coach is going to have an offensive coordinator there just be the token guy that's just going to be the guy there standing there because he's pretty. In Bieniemy in Kansas City and Mike McDaniel in San Francisco, they know their stuff. I am 100% sure about that those guys could come in and deliver us a sound offense. Now, is there a small percent chance that could be wrong? Absolutely, because we do have that exact same situation when it happened with James Bettcher. James Bettcher was the right-hand man for the guy right now who's the head coach for the defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Bulls. And Bettcher came in here, and Bettcher didn't know shit. Bettcher was trying to run a weird defense that didn't stick with our defense. Like he was trying to run man when this wasn't a man capable defense. So is there a small chance that could happen? Absolutely. But you know what? What's the difference between
McDaniels?
Not even McDaniels. As to Bettcher coming in and not knowing how to run a defense, and maybe these new guys come in and knowing how to run a defense. We also don't have Dave Gettleman hiring the coaches. It's now gonna be a new guy drafting the players. It's gonna be a new guy drafting players. It's gonna be a new guy who's gonna be interviewing coaches, who's gonna bring in free agents, who's gonna have maybe a better understanding of, oh yeah, this guy's not full of shit, let me hire him. As opposed to, I feel like James Bettcher hired anybody who gave him the best coach talk, and that was the guy who he hired. Joe Judge, excellent coach talker. He's hired. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I feel that happened, and that's what a lot of the people in this building got their jobs.
And I mean, you know, it's not just first time. It's not just guys like, I mean, you mentioned guys that don't call plays that sometimes get worried when you hire them as head coaches. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Doug Peterson called plays when he was with Andy Reid.
Right.
They said that one guy who just got fired from the Chicago Bears, he didn't call plays for Andy Reid's offense.
Right. Nagy,
yeah.
Right.
I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Frank Reich called plays when he was the Eagles OC that year they won the Super Bowl and then got the head job.
Yo,
I know he was.
Reid likes to call his plays.
Yeah. Also, if I'm not mistaken, the Nick Sirianni, the head coach now for the Eagles, he didn't call plays at all when he was.
Was he under Doug Peterson? Oh no, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
He was the OC for the Colts
for Frank
under Frank Reich. And he didn't call plays. You know, so it's the one things that sometimes worry me, like all those things worry me. But also another thing too, and I was thinking about it as well, is like a lot of these OCs and DCs, they sometimes work in the booth. As a head coach, you can't be in the booth. You got to be down there. That one part makes. Because you're the head coach and you're the head guy, and you can't call challenges from up there. You got to be
you
there.
could just tell somebody on the headphones, "Yo, challenge that, bro."
I guess it would just make me feel some type of way.
I just think that's a tradition thing. I think that's a tradition thing. Like I wouldn't mind I've seen it before in the NFL. I forgot what was the name of the 49ers coach. He wasn't successful, obviously, but I think he ended up going like 1 or 2 games into the booth just to see a different point of view. And
he said he wasn't. Yeah,
he was a guy that would come in like in a suit and tie. Also, I forgot what was his name. I think Mike Nolan, something like that. I forgot what was his name. But
the defensive coordinator from the Cowboys last year, Mike Nolan.
Was he that guy? I don't know. Was he the coach for the 49ers?
I know he did have a head coaching job with the 49ers.
So it was him.
But they had a lot of bad coaches between him and between the good guys and the bad.
Just so everybody knows, I wouldn't want my head coach to be in the booth anyways. But I wouldn't also be opposed to it, because you do have the bird eye view of the game. You can kind of see certain things that are like, okay, this guy's getting his ass beat on the field, and I can make that adjustment right there, right now. I could call the play, call this play right here, because this guy's looking bad.
Now there's one thing too when it came to the offensive systems, and you mentioned it, like, Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, elite quarterback play, that helps your offensive system look better.
Right.
But another thing too, on top of that, is that these teams drafted these quarterbacks, drafted, developed them, drafted effectively around them, went about trading and free agency around them effectively as well.
Right.
That being said, these GMs and these coaches, if they're married to the GMs, already have some type of experience in, drafting their guy and building around that guy. And
they know what a good quarterback or an elite quarterback looks like, dude.
They seem to know how to evaluate talent to be able to make those picks and build around them.
And I remember that somebody told me, they were like, hey, do you think that the new GM head coach are going to bring in a quarterback in? And what are the chances they bring in Malik Willis? I don't know if they're going to bring Malik Willis or not, because at the end of the day, yes, we like Malik Willis, but will the new head coach and the new GM for the Giants like Malik Willis?
I've seen reports that the Bills had sent scouts to 2 of Malik Willis's games when he was at Liberty this year.
That's crazy.
So that is something that some people have mentioned. Like, if the Bills do come in here, there's a chance that, they maybe look like any of these teams, any of these GMs, I should say, that come in. There's a good chance that they may draft a quarterback at 5 or 7. As much as we may not want to see that as a fan base, I guess we have to be open about it as well, too.
Absolutely, bro. Like, listen, if in my point, what I was gonna say is, if the new GM and the new head coach feel like Daniel Jones is not the quarterback that I think, and 9 times out of 10, a new GM and a new head coach want their guy. They want to bring in their quarterback. What I say is, that's the case. Yo, listen, bring in guys until you're satisfied. Who knows if they bring Malik Willis this upcoming draft and he ends up being a bust? I don't care. You guys are going to be here for 3 or 4 years. Keep bringing quarterbacks in until you feel you find your quarterback.
Kind of like the Arizona Cardinals.
They brought the guy in. They brought Josh, whatever his name was. He didn't work out. Josh Rosen. They brought Kyler Murray right there, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it, bro. Bring in the guy.
You do have the option, if you do draft like a Malik Willis, Desmond Ryder, Carson Strong, any of these guys. You have or Mac. I mean, I feel like at 5 we're gonna have our choice at any quarterback.
Absolutely, if they want to do it, hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if anything, you'll still have Daniel Jones there. I think you can bring him back, and he can be that bridge quarterback.
One thing I never understood is why they never brought competition in for Jones.
Yeah, it always seemed like they were just very adamant about. It always seemed like they were very adamant about bringing in an extension of the head coaching staff as a backup QB. Which, I mean, I didn't get that either. But I feel like that's just a Giants thing.
This building ran so weird, yeah.
And even when Eli Manning was the backup, I mean, they had
Carr. I think it was
that was the most credible backup that
they
had, but we knew what that was.
Right. Carr just was there to get a ring,
Josh
to be honest.
Johnson was his backup for a while as well. Geno Smith in that one year. Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah, man.
definitely yeah, no, it's interesting when it comes to that why they never did that, but I feel like this coaching staff's gonna be like obviously at the end of the day, who brings in the free agents?
Right, the
The
GM.
GM.
Right.
And Gettleman, Jones's that was
That was his
Jones's
man's.
guy.
Yeah, so he wanted that guy
I
to
mean,
succeed no matter
Jones was
what.
Gettleman's guy.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
exactly. So, but that's something interesting too that we gotta think about when it comes to the Bills. Like I heard an interview a few years back during the summer of 2020,
Right.
and I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and I was listening to an interview that they brought on Brandon Beane, who's the current GM
Right.
of the Bills, and he said they asked him, and this was before Josh Allen had that breakout season in 2020. They asked him, "Have you thought about bringing in some, whether it's Cam Newton or another quarterback on the street? What have you thought about that?" And they said, our goal is to empower the QB position, very similar to what the Giants did, albeit they're not. I mean, they drafted that year. They drafted Drake Fromm, and they had other QBs on that roster too. So they're always going to be pushing. But I think with that's something, because obviously Joe Sheen comes from that train of thought as well. So that's something to think about. Like these guys are going to put their quarterback in the best position to succeed and empower them, but they still drafted a QB in that draft.
So I'll be honest.
I get it, but they're going to fifth round. I get it, but I think if anything, that's something to think about.
Right.
Empowering your QB, but not
yes, I get it.
Not bringing in anyone to compete.
That's also kind of crazy in my opinion. There should be a fine balance between that, because at the end of the day, it's just like, yo, there's no more Iron Man anymore. A QB is you better prepare yourself for a QB to missing at least a game or 2 games, yo. Right. Like it is what it is. So bring in somebody who, if your QB goes down for 1 or 2 games, you might have a chance to win the game. Not freaking
Mike Glennon.
Glennon, you know what I'm saying? Even Jake Fromm. Come on, like I love Jake, to be honest. I still think with a right offense, Jake might have a chance because he has anticipation.
I think he could be a solid backup.
A solid backup. You know what I'm saying? Like
a dude that's gonna come in and play decent.
And if Dabo is the GM, he might have here Fromm to be in the practice squad here. So you never know, because he had him in freaking, well, not necessarily him, it was Bean, but you know what I'm trying to say. My thing is this: if you want to have competition for Jones, but at the same time, if you feel like Jones is the guy, then I'm cool with that too. Like I'm cool if the GM comes here and be like, I evaluated Jones, and after further consideration, I think that he's gonna be the guy. Go for it, bro.
Like I would lean towards them saying, like, you know what, this team isn't a QB away, and this team isn't ready to develop a QB effectively, so we're gonna draft effectively. And if a QB drops in the 2nd or 3rd round, we're taking them. But overall, our goal is best player available at a needed position.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be disappointing to you though if they say that this team is not a QB away, in a sense of, wouldn't that say to you, this team is not going to compete next season for playoff?
I know we've been saying that this team can isn't good enough to compete for a playoff right now. Mm-hmm. But also that's right now.
Right.
We
don't know what they're going to gut it. We don't know what they're going to do with it.
Yeah. And we've and I've been showing you and stuff, like the Giants can clear $30 million in cap space and not be hurt. Right? Letting go of players like Shepard or, if Nate Solder's still on the contract, that has to be like the first guy you cut. Riley Dixon.
Right.
You can make a trade for Saquon Barkley and clear $7 million.
Right.
If you draft your quarterback, you'll have Daniel Jones released, and that's $1 in the cap. Like they still have ways to be able to maneuver this cap space.
I saw an analytic wins above replacement article, and I sent it to you, and it said like the running back is the least value position in analytics. So the first thing, the first thing that a coach, like if a GM comes here and he's heavy valued in analytics, he's not gonna pay Barkley, and he's even gonna get rid of Barkley like the very first season, because he's gonna be like, you're making how much as a running back, bro? Like, nah, dude, I need that money.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's definitely ways that they can maneuver on the cap. I do tend to believe that this team, with a good draft and, letting go of players for cap relief, but then also bringing in players to, actually
replacing those guys and doing better.
Not guys are going to retire. Mm-hmm. But if you bring in effectively, I know. If you bring in the guys effectively for this team, I think this team can be good. But also, too, I don't think the goal needs to be to compete.
Yeah.
I always have to be the goal. But the goal can't be all our chips in the middle and we're going for it. I think the goal has to be, let's get this team built and
the proper way,
built and ready to go. But the thing is, too, bro. I mean, the NFC.
You don't have to be good. Just be competitive.
Yeah, so I mean, exactly. Like the Eagles, the Eagles. They did what they had to do. They got their offensive line back healthy. They let go of players they shouldn't have. They didn't have the best cap space. They still made it work. And look at them in the playoffs.
Right.
Did they get beat? Yeah.
But that's because that's what they were supposed to. But they beat up on bad teams.
Yeah, and that's what you need. Like, you need to have those guys that have never played in the playoffs
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, playing. That's the only way you're going to get those guys getting better. And they're probably going to be a better
experience is real as F. AF.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And we're going to have a last division schedule next year.
Yeah.
So we're going to play a lot of teams that didn't play well.
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, for everybody that's listening to this, I'm praying and hoping that we end up in Hard Knocks. I want Hard Knocks so badly, yo. I want Hard Knocks so badly.
We need
Come on, Hard Knocks. Like, it's about time. Like, they picked the worst teams. We've been the worst team for like 10 years. When the hell are we going to be Hard Knocks already? Come on.
John Morrow's been trying really hard not to.
Not to do it, yo. He has no choice.
He has no choice.
You're going to either appear in the they're going to come up to him and be like, the NFL is going to come up to him and be like, John, you have two choices. These are the only choices you have. Preseason hard knocks or in the season Hard Knocks, but you gotta pick one. Yeah. I guarantee it.
It'll be interesting. But I think that, like, I don't think, like, I know we've been really high on the time that this team is a lot better than expected.
Okay.
That they look a lot better,
all right,
and that they can be better.
Mm-hmm.
I think we also realize that this team could also not be very good next. Like, we're kind of realizing.
No.
We have our hands in both baskets.
No, dude. No, hell no. The only way, in my opinion, that this team can't be better is or worse, or could be really bad.
I meant like competitive, not competitive.
Not competitive,
because
exactly.
They're gonna be better. They have to.
I think that the only way that they're not competitive is if, like, legit the GMs be like, yeah, we're tanking for Young, and we're gonna gut this team up, and we're gonna just, that's fine, and that's fine too. If they want to do that, perfect.
Yeah.
But if they're like, nah, we're gonna take small steps and we're gonna improve on what we got so far, because these contracts, because at least, I think that what's his name? Our cornerback, our best cornerback, Bradbury. I think he's 1 year left. So
yeah, him and Martinez.
Cutting him, trading him, does you nothing. You could keep him there. Martinez, last year of his contract. Cutting him does nothing for you, unless
it does give you a nice little chunk in cap for both those guys. And if you can, like,
but if you can
get like Nakobe Dean,
yeah, but who are you gonna get? Who are you gonna get for to play corner then?
Oh yeah, no, that would be something that's problematic for sure. And it would be the same situation as they did with Zeitler. They let go of Zeitler for cap relief.
It would be the same situation that Gettleman did over and over. Get rid of Odell.
Good players for cap.
Who are you gonna put in there for Odell? Yeah, we would never ever be able to replace Odell. We never replace Odell. JPP. Who for JPP? Nobody. Like, they did this over and over and over and over. I don't think that I think Gettleman was just stupid. And part of my
he wasn't good at it.
He wasn't good at his job. You can't just.
Wait, you said part of your language? Mm-hmm. Don't. He deserves it.
I like to be respectful of my elders. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing. So here's why I say there's no way this team could be bad, because and again, I'm just so hoping that the GM has the same mentality as we do, in the sense of, you evaluate this defense and you say, at corner, my two corner positions are okay. They're not bad. They're okay players. Are they elite? No.
I would say as a tandem, they're top 10 tandem.
I don't even know that. I wouldn't even.
I would say 1 and 2. They're top 10 tandem at least.
Listen, I got to check out everybody's roster to even say that.
I would say, I'm trying to think. I can't think of Adoree Jackson was a first round pick and he's played well. James Bradbury he played a lot better at
the end of the season too.
You know, and Pro Bowls, like, they've been solid players since they've been in the league. You know, the biggest issue with Adoree Jackson was health. but he kind of showed that this year that
they
he
have
could
to be
be a bit
15 and
healthy.
up for sure. So if you want to say 10, I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, like I think I would be comfortable saying that they're a top 10, that they're a top 10 QB tandem when it comes to QB1, QB2.
Perfect. Xavier McKinney, where would you rank him in terms of free safeties? Top 10?
I would say right now, top 10 free safety. I would, like, if nothing else, he's right there.
Okay,
he's gonna be our guy.
To be honest, Sean safety to me irrelevant because our Sean safeties are in the box safeties. I think that you could plug in anybody and their moms and they do a good job. Not JPP. What's his name? Peppers. They did a decent job. Love, I think they did a better job than Peppers, to be honest. So,
Logan Ryan's like that guy who's able to. He's the quarterback of that defense, especially in the secondary. And it showed in that Tampa game how lost they were.
I think you could get rid of Logan Ryan, though. I think you could get rid of Logan Ryan and you could get a little bit more agile.
The only thing that worries me is that he's like a reflection of that coaching staff.
I think that middle linebacker should be that. And we didn't have Martinez there.
That's the thing. When you have Blake Martinez and Logan Ryan, that's two captains.
Yeah.
But also, too, I mean, look at the Tampa game when Logan Ryan wasn't there. That offense was slicing that secondary.
Yes.
So at the very least, Logan Ryan brings that value.
Okay, then and that's respectable. I definitely like that. In terms of the defensive line, that's where we need help. Clearly, that we need an edge rusher. And we also need a faster linebacker alongside Blake Martinez, which could be Jalen Smith. But I would honestly like to sub Martinez for a faster linebacker and have Jalen Smith and somebody faster there.
I do think Tate Crowder is good in that, like, linebacker 2, linebacker 3 special teams. I know what you're saying. I know you're not very high on him, but
I want Crowder to be the spell linebacker and the special teams guru.
But you remember, like, those interceptions that he was covering running backs in those positions. Like
I don't even remember him having interceptions, dude.
Yeah, he had interceptions at the goal line. Okay. He had 2 interceptions at the goal line. One against the Eagles, one against the Bears. I think he's a good player. I like him a lot, but I don't think you need to roll in with him as your, like, if you like
number 1 or number 2.
He could be number 3. If you bring in Blake Martinez, if he comes back, and there's a chance for you to get, like, if in a second or wherever you're at in the draft, if there's a chance for you to get, like, the Nakobe Dean, Chad Mama, you don't need to not draft those guys for Tate Crowder. You need to continue to bring talent everywhere.
Right, because we need competition everywhere. That's another thing too, man. And I'm cool with, like, having, like, Robinson compete for any other 2 starting cornerbacks job and stuff like that.
I think slot with Darnay Holmes. That would be a nice little competition.
But there we go.
He needs to get healthy though, because he wasn't healthy.
We spoke about a defense. We just finished speaking about a defense that, and I don't want to speak out of my thingy. Let me ask you. Go ahead.
Right now, what do you think will help this defense become better, personnel-wise, on the team?
Again,
I'll tell you right now, edge, linebacker.
Right, exactly. So, again, we're talking about points per game. This defense gave up, I'll rank them right now. They gave up...
That's really the most important. Yards or whatever, there's important, but points.
Right, because you win by scoring and you win by stopping the team from scoring. So right here, all right, I got it. Sorry about that, guys, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up. The Giants were ranked 23rd, terrible, 24 points per game. The number 10 defense, the Kansas City Chiefs, 21.4 points per game. The Giants 24.5, Kansas City Chiefs 21.4. The number 7 defense, 21.2, Dallas Cowboys, Giants 24. So 3 points is the difference.
Right.
Now, Manny, the Giants never played with a lead. The Giants defense was never in a situation where the enemy team or the opposite team didn't have the run available to them. It's a must-pass situation. We can't run the ball. Never happened. How crazy is that, bro? Like, this defense easily could improve 5 to 7 points. Easily remove a touchdown. remember, some of the points that this defense gave up wasn't even them. The total points on a team against, they're not counting also pick sixes. They're not counting interceptions that now the offense of the opposing team is starting at the 10-yard line, inside the 20. That kind of stuff that puts your defense in an unfair position. So if we get a middle of the pack offense, our defense would skyrocket. So,
and I think, and that's what we were talking about too. I mean, the one thing that, like, on top of all that you just said, you know, when the offense is continually three and out, or giving the ball away, or when the special teams too is shanking punts after shanking punts shanking punts.
Ronnie Dixon is gone.
Yeah, he needs to be. You
better bring a 7th round punter over here, and that's it.
Not even. I think. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't even be mad if the Giants wanted to throw some money at a punter, a really good punter in the NFL. Yeah. I wouldn't be mad. I really wouldn't. Those guys aren't.
But they did that for Dixon, and supposedly Dixon is the guy that had like a huge leg. I don't see the huge leg on Dixon, anyways.
That's why it's so important. Again, we're talking about the offense. That's why it's so important who this GM is going to be. But I think the most important, I think that obviously doesn't help them as well too. Like, if this offense actually helped, they're like, football is a multi team sport, and the reason being is because you bounce off of each other.
Complementary.
Yeah, you know, like when the Giants were winning Super Bowls, they didn't have the most high flying offense, but they had a good defense, and the offense was good. And when the defense needed to step up, they did. When the offense needed to step up, they did. And they worked hand in hand with each other. They were perfect, complementing each other. Like, the Giants haven't had that in a while. Even in that year that they made it to the playoffs, the offense wasn't great, but the defense was showing out. I think that's what the Giants need to try to strive for more, obviously. And I mean, any GM coming in here, look at those numbers you're talking about, looking at the personnel is going to know that.
That's what I'm saying, man.
The defense needs that. Like, we need to get this defense better and need to continue to improve there. But the focus has to be this offense, and specifically the offensive line.
So the Senior Bowl is February 5th. We are how many days away from that? I mean,
2 weeks, I would say.
We are about a little bit over 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks from this Sunday. So the head coach, I mean, not the head coach, but the GM for this team, he's going to be announced either this weekend or middle of next week already.
Beginning of next week?
Yeah, for sure. Dude, you do not have... There's no way the New York Giants will not have a general manager before that Senior Bowl. I don't know if they won't have a head coach, because the guy they might want to... Because here's the thing. They might want to interview guys who are going to be in the Super Bowl. The only way you can interview coaches that are in the Super Bowl is that bye week that's in between the Super Bowl. So you don't. So we might not have, if the Kansas City Chiefs and they want Bieniemy, they gotta wait till the bye week to interview Bieniemy. So it's gonna be interesting. So I don't think the coach might be here, but I definitely think that we're gonna have a head coach. I mean, a general manager by the latest. The 26th of January will be. I'll give it the deadline of the general manager.
Yeah, I think. I mean, for all we know, the only 2 second-round candidates are Poles and Schoen, and if that's the case, it'll be as early as the end. Like someone said, it won't matter if that GM is in the playoff extended or anything like that. That won't matter.
It's not, because of the GMs. GMs have no. They have zero involvement in game plans. They're not there for practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not even the GM. That's the assistant GM. The current GM for those teams, if they need to call somebody from free agency or whatever, somebody got hurt and they need to fill in, those guys doing that. They're going to be the ones doing that job. You know what I'm saying? So the GM he is irrelevant right now. You know what I'm saying?
You're going with Poles, huh? That's your guy?
That's the guy that I want. That's the guy that I want.
Like, if you're going to make the hire.
Yes. I would go with Poles, but I think that the writing is on the wall with Sheen. I think that Schoen. Everybody has. I've seen too much on Twitter that's telling me that it's gonna be Schoen.
That points to Schoen. Yeah.
Like the reporters are talking too much about Schoen, so I'm like, it's Schoen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Which is gonna be really
Imagine
interesting.
though. Imagine if the Giants go black GM, black head coach, and draft Malik Willis though. That would be insane, bro.
There's a lot of people that question the Giants when they didn't draft Dwayne Haskins and instead drafted Daniel Jones. Like that was a perfect what are the Giants doing situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and obviously, I mean, now realizing it,
Right,
I mean,
2020.
color, it didn't have had nothing to do with it. No, it was not even 2019.
No,
And
I'm
then
talking about
realizing
like
it,
2020 vision, like hindsight
and then
2020.
realizing it now, obviously, it wasn't. Yeah, exactly.
A blessing in
2020 vision.
disguise that they didn't do
Oh
that.
yeah.
Right.
Dwayne Haskins is terrible.
I wasn't on the you must draft Dwayne Haskins train, but what did bother me about the Dwayne Haskins thing is like Dwayne Haskins comes from a from a good team, good conference. Daniel Jones comes from a bad team, bad conference. And I was just like, so I wasn't infuriated that they drafted Jones over Haskins. I was just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't sit well with me, but I also was like, I don't care. Because I just, nah.
Yeah,
you know
no,
what I'm saying?
I wasn't. I mean, yeah, no, at the time I was all in on Haskins, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
But
and
that's why, again, bro.
And maybe people could put up receipts on me too, and maybe I was wrong. I mean, I was angry about that too.
And I feel like whatever Giant show you got, whatever Giant show is out there, whatever podcast is talking about the Giants, whatever Twitter handles on the Giants,
right?
I feel like we're all going to be saying this up until it happens. That's why it's so important that the Giants hire the right GM.
Yo, we might see. You know what's funny?
This is the most important GM hire that the Giants have ever had, ever.
You know what's
this
funny?
Isn't bringing in a guy internally.
No.
This isn't the NFL hiring someone for you. This is you guys, and it's the most important.
This is
the most.
I mean, yo, Manny, the Giants haven't had a winning product in over 10 years, right? Maybe one season in 2016, and then after that, it's just been garbage, bro. The new GM has to build a real foundation here, and it doesn't start just with players. It's way before the players. It's a winning foundation on scouting, on pro personnel, picking up free agents, all this stuff to make sure that we are going to be a competitive team, not just for this year, for the decade to come. Because just look at the head coaches in this division. Green Bay, Dallas head coach, I forget,
McCarthy.
McCarthy, he's a joke. Washington head coach Rivera, a joke.
Head coach.
Dude, but he's a dinosaur, bro. He's ran a good program. He's been in the Super Bowl. I don't even think he's the best coach in the division. The best coach in the division right now is Sirianni, who took the worst team in the division and made the playoffs with them. Yeah. Sirianni took the worst team who was predicted to end up last and made the playoffs with them. Like, I think he's the best coach. Now, I still think he's a bad coach, but that's because all the other, and then the Giants are no coach, so they're the worst coaching staff.
But even when Judge was there, he was worse than all them boys.
Even with Judge there, he's the worst coaching staff. So to me, 1, the Eagles, 2, Washington, 3, Dallas, the Admirals, 3, Dallas, 4, us.
Yeah, that's why it's going to be really important. That's another thing too. I just mentioned this is the most important GM hire that the Giants are going to have ever in their franchise history.
It can vault us up just like this to first place.
But it's also with that head coach that's going to be really important as well for this GM.
Absolutely, bro. Like it's gonna there is so many implications with this decision because, believe it or not, here's the first thing that I'm gonna do when this becomes available. The win total for next season, I'm probably gonna put my mortgage on that, yo. I am betting that the Giants are gonna beat whatever win total they're gonna have by a mile. Yo, I bet you it's gonna be something ridiculous like 5, 6, or 7.
Like 3 wins.
No, it's definitely gonna be like 4, 5, or 6. 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think they could put some 4-win, 3-win.
I would love that. I would love that, and I would kill it.
Yeah,
kill it. But yeah, man, let's wrap it up. Anything else that you would want to talk about before
Yeah,
we're out of here?
last word. Yeah, last thing I want to say, and I
By the
can't
way,
wait
are
to
you
get on with you
afraid
next.
of first time coaches?
Absolutely.
You are?
But scare money don't make money.
Scare
So
money don't make money.
we need to make sure that as long as you bring in the right GM, I'm confident in what that GM's going to do.
Right.
You mentioned first time head coaches. Joe Judge was a first time head coach, so I want to say my last thoughts on Joe Judge because obviously that TMZ picture came out of him pretty much having a dope pizza party with his coaches and some of the players.
Shout outs to
I'll say this.
What a mensch.
Listen, sir, Joe Judge. It was awesome. You know, the fun games, and it stinks I blame it more on the team and the GM. But at the end of the day, you hope for him to be healthy, and you know, at the end of the day, it'll be interesting to see what he does. But hey, thank you, Judge, and yeah.
And here's what I'll say about Judge. Now that you brought up Judge, I really think that he has the charisma to be a head coach. I just think that and we spoke about this in another episode, he just needs to work on the X's and O's. He needs to be more self-dependent on himself other than just being the CEO and trying to run a team, because you just don't, like, for example, the fact that he lasted that long to get rid of Garrett, that's sad. But like you said, the guy, his players really didn't quit on him, man. Like, they might have. Yeah. I don't believe that the entire locker room didn't quit on him. I am pretty sure there had to be like 3 or 4 or 5 guys that checked out. 3 or 4 or 5 guys.
Probably on the offense, which is understandable.
I think Kenny was checked out, to be honest. I think Kenny
you know what? He can clean slate, brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I really do believe that as a majority of the team, they really bangs with Joe. They really would want to run through walls to Joe. So kudos to him. I think he's gonna be okay. I think in 2, 3, 4 years, Joe Judge is gonna be back in the coaching candidate scene. Maybe he needs to go coach college football for a little bit and then come back and be the hottest coach.
And now check it out. He still has 3 years left in his contract. He's getting a nice little $15 million for those 3 years. So, to be honest, I really don't feel bad because he's all right. And, he'll get another shot here soon.
He's going to get a job right away.
He's
going to get a special teams job right away.
I think at the very least, he'll get a special teams job. I think he'll be good. And I'm excited to see how he does in his future. So, Mazel Tov. There's no point of talking bad about him.
No ill will. No ill will for Joe Judge. I have more ill will. I have more ill will, and that's a strong word, ill will. I don't have ill will towards nobody, but I have a bad taste in my mouth from the 2 previous head coaches than I do from Joe Judge, and I definitely have a bad taste in my mouth from Gettleman. I don't even have a bad taste in my mouth from Reese. Reese, I'm cool with Reese.
I have a bad taste in my mouth on Gettleman. Yes. So I'll just say, God bless them all. Be safe, and we're on to a new chapter in the Giants, and hopefully successful.
Hopefully, man, we're gonna get by next week that we talk again, man. Hopefully, we already have a general manager, and we're talking, making connections from the general manager to the possible head coaches that he's doing, guys. Thank you guys for ever joining us, man. On Twitter, whoever's there, man, I see you guys there. Thank you so much for coming through, and yeah, man, hopefully, man, next week we have a GM in place, and we're already talking about, possible coaching candidates. For Manny, I'm Tone. Thank you so much, guys, for being in here, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Please like, subscribe, hit us up on Twitter, and just interact with us, man. We love this stuff. We love everybody. Yo, dude, I can't thank you guys enough. All the followers that I'm getting on Twitter. My Twitter's blown. Every day I check my Twitter, there's 20 messages waiting for me on my Twitter. That's not even a day. That's like every other hour I have about 20 messages on my Twitter. Dude, I love talking Giants. We both do. Keep interacting with us. Let's keep building what we got here because there's something special. Manny, my brother, thank you so much.
I thank you guys, and I appreciate Giants Twitter. It's my first year in it, and you guys have been awesome, and I can't wait to continue talking about this. And hopefully next time we're talking about a GM and who he's going to bring. But shout out to you, sir. And, go Big Blue.
All right, guys, for breaking tackles, man, for Manny and me, man. I see you guys. Peace.